OMAKASE, the life and words of author M. Karen. If this is our first time meeting each other, let me give you a brief introduction. My name is Max. I write books for a living. My pronouns are they, them, and welcome to the 35th episode of OMAKASE, my writing advice and inspiration podcast. It's been a little bit since the last time we talked, and I'm going to talk about the impromptu hiatus, and I'll let you know all about where I was and what I was doing in the first segment of the show, My Week. That will be followed by viewer questions. Today we're going to be talking about the idea of hero versus villain as opposed to protagonist versus antagonist. And that will be followed by what to do when your timeline is too wide or too short. That will be followed, of course, by the third and final segment of the show, the prompt. Every week, I like to come at you with a weird, strange, bizarre prompt, and this one is a fun one. We have another of those. Max had a weird experience, and here comes another weird story idea. You will learn all about the concept of the parallel death on the third segment. Before we get started, though, hey, if you are interested in cool ways to support me, or cool links, or where to find the song you're hearing at the beginning and at the end of the show, check out the description of this podcast or video. Alright, housekeeping is done, taken care of. Let's advance into my week. What have I been working on? What have I been doing? How have I been seizing the day, as they say? Creatively and not. Well, we had a bit of a hiatus, a short one, thankfully. But I had a crazy week last week. From my point of view, you know me, time is relative, you're in the future, I'm in the past. We're all advancing slowly, and at the same time, incredibly fast across the blackness of space on Spaceship Earth. So while that was happening, you know, the cosmic bodies, the entirety of our universe as it exists, all that magic was happening in the background while I was visited by my in-laws. They dropped in. I don't want to say unannounced, because they did warn me they were coming, but they arrived several hours earlier than expected, and stayed over for way longer than I thought they were going to. It was just a rough week, okay? You know me, I am a creature of habit. I have my writing routine, I have the way that I do things, and for about half of that week, everything was just utter chaos, you know, dogs and cats living together, quite literally because they brought their dog, though they weren't living together because my cat is, a baby. Not a kitten, he's a baby. He's a crybaby. And he wasn't very happy for those 3 days. What happened after that? I talked on Twitter that I had like the craziest week because I had a total of like 12 hours to do everything. And as you can imagine, nothing got done. I had the in-laws come in, and then I had a trip that I had to go to. I made it very clear. I value transparency. Transparency? That's why I didn't call it a business trip, because it wasn't a business trip. It was just a small family vacation that I had planned forever ago. And it's that sort of thing, you know, where I thought I was going to have 4 days in the week to get everything done. You know, get the podcast out, get the monthly video out, boom, boom, get out of here, have fun, enjoy a small impromptu vacation. That didn't happen. The getting stuff done part. You will all be very proud of me as you hear that I enjoyed that vacation. As you know, I am very hard on myself, and I hate missing weeks, but listen, I looked at the time, and I cut my losses. I realized there isn't enough time to get the podcast out. And even my brother, who some of you know as Plakesworth, YouTuber and artist Plakesworth, was like, I just record the podcast in the hotel. And as someone who agonizes over audio quality, Max said, hearing a slight buzz in the background, why is there interference right now? Anyhow, the idea of recording... Hi there. Sorry to interrupt the currently scheduled programming, but as you know, the random events of life never stop. I just received a text from my beautiful spouse telling me that apparently there is a huge power outage happening all around our town. So fingers crossed. Me, not you. Because if you're hearing this, then everything's fine. But from my point of view, I sure am hoping that the next hour of work or so doesn't get completely wasted. But anyhow, as I was saying, I despise the idea of going to a vacation and then spend a couple nights recording and editing a podcast. So I didn't do that. I enjoyed my time in that little hotel. It was literally just a night and a day. We stayed there. It was fun. The whole family was in the pool. We hadn't done that since we were little. It was fun. We brought the baby. It was cute. Not my baby, my sister's baby. As you can imagine, we got plenty of the when's the babies coming conversation. I got it from my in-laws. She got it from my parents. All of them are going to be disappointed when they realize that we're already capped at 3 babies. We have a cat and 2 chinchillas. That's enough. That's too much for me to handle. So, listen, all of our babies are tiny, furry, and gray. And that's the way life ought to be. So, that was my last week. Ever since I got back, I've been attempting everything in my power to get back to the routine. One of the best things, and listen, you have to look on the bright side of life to do. Whenever there is an event that ruins your routine or forces you to do something completely different in a completely different place, guess what? That is a great opportunity to reset your routine, to analyze how you used to tackle things, review it, look for ways to improve, and to begin getting used to this new routine. And that's what I did. And I have been having a fantastic time. I've been doing way more writing in the mornings, nearly writing every day, though it's not, I'm not tracking the number, I'm not doing it on purpose, I just want to stay close to the story. And I've been writing lots. This manuscript started out being like 30,000 words, a novella, and it's now like twice as that, and the story it's coming to a head, and it's been fun. I started writing this novel last year, and I dropped it because life got rough. Something happened, I picked it up again, and I was feeling that maybe I hate to phrase it like this, but I was afraid that maybe I had lost the touch. Not the writing touch, the touch in that particular story, that I had, lost the thread. That story was gone, and I could not capture it again. Of course, that sentiment is silly. I sat down, I worked on it, and I was reunited with the story. We can make ourselves believe plenty of silly and erroneous things when it comes to writing, which happens to be a verb. It is something you do. It is something you must act upon. Whatever it is you wish to do, all you need to do is to sit down and write. I sat down. It wasn't easy. It seldom is. But now I feel better about that story. I feel closer to it than I had even as far as when I began writing it. There's going to be a lot of work. All books take a lot of work. But I am very happy with where the story stands right now. As for the media that I've been consuming, I've been jumping between like 3 different books, and I am not yet ready to talk about them, so I won't. Other than that, my lovely spouse and I have been catching up on a lot of shows. We have our other channel where we review stuff, and we have a huge wave of reviews coming out, and I love it because the original rule for our reviews was that we wouldn't watch anything longer than 12 episodes, just because, week to week, that, there just isn't enough time to watch 25 episodes, except, of course, we are huge liars. Right there, above the office, there is this sign that says, Big Lies. Yeah, no, we watched 25 episodes of that series. We watched it in like 4 sittings. It was great. The show wasn't very good, but we had a fun time watching it, and that's half the fun right there now, isn't it? When that review comes out, I will let you know. I will probably keep you posted on when that other channel gets a huge new influx of content, reviews, and all that other stuff. But anyhow, life is but a deck of cards. We know not what lies in it, and we don't get to peek or cheat. It is not a game, there are no turns, and sometimes fate deals us a hand we could have never expected. A trip, in-laws, personal drama, sadness involving friends. We never know what will come, but the only thing that matters is not to get stuck on those moments, on the loss of time, on the grief, but rather to look forward, for there's always another hand of cards and another chance to keep on doing what we love most. Ah, look at me. I missed doing this show. I really did. That's how you can tell, because I'm being all sappy. I don't know. It's fun. I hope you have been having a good time. And if not, hey, we're not stopping. I'm not stopping, you're not stopping. You don't let me stop, I don't let you stop. That's the way this goes, okay? Keep writing. The show is not over. Wouldn't that have been a funny twist? Hey guys, thank you for tagging along. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That's a joke. The part about the show being over, please do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay. Enough with that. Before we advance into the questions of the day, let me just tell you a little bit about the people who make this show possible. OMAKASE is brought to you thanks to you, the lovely people, treating me to cups of coffee through coffee.com/mkaren and by pledging to my Patreon page, patreon.com/mkaren. Coffee.com is a nice and easy way to support me, but if you want a more long-term thing and get cool perks along the way, well, that's what my Patreon is for. Depending on what you pledge, you get a set of cool perks, one of which could be the shoutouts in the middle of the show. I would like to give a big shoutout to the following, to some of my most generous patrons. Rival Moonlight. Rival Moonlight has a DeviantArt page. You can find out more about his writing and his art over at deviantart.com/Rival Moonlight. Somuse Lishadra. Let me do that again. Lishadra. Lacey. Irina Phoenix. A. Howard. Angela. Polycraftool. Amelia. New patron, Zero Woods. Elisa Dudley. Heather is writing. Nicola. Brenda. Pat Eichson. Kristen Lofton. And Synexia. Let's step over to the questions. Every week, I take 2 questions from the comments of my videos, from my Tumblr page, from my Twitter, from my email, which you can find in the description below, and I tackle them here on the podcast. Today we have an interesting selection of questions. I always like to do a technical one and a bit of an inspirational one. This time, though, we have kind of 2 technical questions. Sometimes technical can mean the idea of, grammar and story structure. World building and outlining is often not seen as a technical part of writing, and I kind of do. But before we dive deeper into technicalities, let's begin with the very first question. A little bit ago, I posted an image macro, one of those kind of memes where you fill in the blank to make your own joke, and I posted it. And the crux of that joke was that I prefer to call the people in my stories protagonist and antagonist, as opposed to hero versus villain. And I got a very interesting question on my email. Someone saw that, and they didn't want to just reply to me on Twitter because they had a lot to say. And I mean, we're all writers. We all hate the character limit on Twitter. I don't hate it as much. I kind of like to be able to, try to boil down what I'm actually trying to say. But I totally get why someone would just send me a big email instead of, spamming me with like 5 replies. So this email was asking me exactly where my feelings came from. What was wrong with calling the main character of your story the hero and the villain as opposed to the antagonist? And this is a conversation that is a very me conversation. It's a very Max conversation. But it's something that I haven't talked about in probably years. Listen, I've been making content on the internet for a long time, and I can almost pinpoint with silly precision the last time I talked about a question. Because I remember. It's up here, Max said, tapping at their temple. It's up here in the old memory bank. And I remember things. I don't remember the last time I talked about morality, or the implied morality of calling characters heroes and antagonists villains. So, let's do that today. Now, what's so wrong with calling your character a hero? What's so wrong with calling that other character over there a villain? I think it's a technical question. Because it is at the end of it all a technicality. But throughout the history of humanity, we have struggled to define what makes a person good and what makes a person bad. And in extreme cases, what makes a person evil. And just right away, I haven't even cracked open this can, and there's already so much stuff we have to unpack. There is thousands of years, maybe more, of human history where we're trying to just talk about these concepts. What makes a person good? What makes a person bad? And I have always felt that calling my characters heroes and villains is short-sighted. And I don't know how to say it without just being crimson, but I'll just say it. It also feels insincere. And this is me, by the way. This is about me. You're listening to my writing advice podcast. This is me, my advice, my opinion, where it works for me, my own personal experience. It doesn't feel right to say that the main character of my story is the hero. What does it mean to be a hero? Does my character encapsulate that? Does the antagonist encapsulate the idea of villainy? Are they evil? I already feel icky just thinking about this. Not because morality is an icky subject, but because it's so murky and hazy. It's like we're lost in fog and we don't even know where we're going, but we're just walking. And when you're in the middle of fog, there is a circle of clarity around you, but the rest is all just nonsense. It's obscured. We're like bumbling around in the darkness, and what are we even looking for? I don't know. What I do know is that it has never felt right to label my characters as heroes. Even when they do selfless things, it doesn't feel right. I feel that hero is almost like an ideal, and to ground it into a character, and to say that character is a hero, I don't know, it seems like putting them on a pedestal, and sometimes that doesn't always ring true. Can most characters carry the yoke of being a hero? I don't think so. And I remember having very volatile conversations with writers in college who were stern about calling their characters heroes. When, I'm not gonna lie to you, all that character did in their story was just murder people. And their motives were revenge and envy and greed. What's heroic about that? Now, I know what you're thinking. Some of you are going, Max, you're taking this the wrong way. Hero and villain is just shorthand for that over there is the good guy, and that over there is the bad guy. And I get that. But as with much shorthand, I don't like it. I also don't like that either. The whole, okay, well, that person over there is the good guy, and that over there is the bad guy. What about that example that I proposed? That one writer I met who wrote this character who literally just goes on a murder rampage through everyone who ever wronged him and succeeds through betrayal and is rewarded, and their greed and envy are rewarded at the end. How is that good? How is that good? Throughout this conversation, because this is the sort of thing where when I find the question for the week, I'm thinking about it all through the days that lead up to recording day. I'm in the shower, I'm walking, I'm thinking, I'm reflecting on my own experiences. That's why, I really appreciate when someone takes the time to explain themselves, because it gives me it gives me the launch pad. It gives me exactly the particular take that we're going to be talking about. And I remember waking up, washing my face, putting on my makeup, and being reminded of the Disney movie Hercules. And in that movie, Hercules, the son of the Greek god Zeus, is in the mortal realm and cannot return to where the gods live until he becomes a hero. And Hercules proceeds to kill a bunch of monsters and earn himself plenty of fame along the way. But at around the 70% mark through the movie, he asks his father why he isn't a hero already. He's defeated so many monsters. And I believe that Zeus says something to the extent of, well, you're not ready yet. And maybe it's because that was one of the movies that I watched growing up. But that sentiment stuck with me. And when I went to college and I played role-playing games with friends, and we played, pen and paper role-playing games, and I found that a lot of the rule books referred to the main characters as heroes, even though most of what we were doing was killing things and stealing stuff. It didn't feel right. And if you've read my books, if you've been following this podcast or my content for years, you know that what intrigues me the most about stories is the point of view. How we become these people through the act of reading their stories. How we learn to understand them. How we, almost in a new age way, put on the VR goggles and see life through their eyes. Slapping a hero label doesn't feel real if the character themselves doesn't encapsulate the ideal of a hero. And honestly, I can't think of a single time when someone slapped on the villain/evil label on their antagonist and it ever felt right. Because it feels a little bit like hedging your bets, like stacking the deck, like shaving the die. That person who you've been telling me is evil the whole time, and the only thing you've ever shown me of them doing is them doing evil things, or cruel things, or selfish things. It feels a little bit like telling a one-sided story. And that's not what I am about. Morality is more complex than good guys and bad guys, than heroes and villains. Reality is more complex than that. And from the moment I work on my outline, from the moment I'm giving the characters shape in my mind, I seek not to put them in a box, not to see who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. but I see to explore their point of view. I have one more little bit that I want to make. But before I do that, let me double back to the beginning of the question. What's so wrong with calling your protagonist the hero and the antagonist the villain? There's nothing wrong with that. You do what you want to do. But from my point of view, I have always preferred to look at stories as people who are in the center of it, the protagonist, and the people who stand in their way, the antagonist. Sometimes the actions of the antagonist are not ill-intended. Sometimes the two characters don't even know each other. But I think that you gain the freedom to write many more different stories by looking at stories as a protagonist and their antagonists, rather than heroes and villains. That's it. I think you have a lot more freedom when you don't just put your characters in a box. And I do realize that protagonist and antagonist are also labels, I know that, but they are colorless labels. Protagonist just means the central character of a story. An antagonist means a character who happens to stand in opposition to the protagonist. That's it. It's colorless. It's beautiful. It's like said in dialogue tags. I like that. I like it. Now, someone out there may be wondering, Max, I know you. I know what kind of person you are. I follow you on Twitter. Is this why you love to play thieves? In role-playing games, and in video games, and pen and paper stories, I love playing myself the thief, the rogue. If anything, because I love sneaking around, and the idea of picking locks and stealing things is fantastic to me. But even more so, I love to explore how a character like that justifies their actions. How does one justify not stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, but just stealing from everybody? How would a character like that justify themselves? That right there is a question intriguing enough to propel me through dozens of books. Someday I will write a story about a thief, and it'll probably be like 20 books long. I am certain of it. But for now, I hope that helps. I know that I went really long on this one, but thankfully, don't mind me bonking my leg against the desk, but thankfully, the next question is a much briefer one. I got a question from a dear viewer asking me what to do with the particular scenario. And this is something that I think all of us can relate to, not just in experience, but also in things that we notice in media. Have you ever read a story in which right off the bat, the writer or writers, whether it is a show, a book, a video game, whatever it is, the writer establishes an end goal, and this end goal has a hard date. We must defeat the armies of so-and-so by the end of the month. You must train for the next 6 months for the big tournament. Somewhere down the line, near or far, the big event, the big crux of the story is going to take place. Our dear writerly friend is writing a story just like that. Our writerly friend has written tens of thousands of words, covering the beginning of the story, the introduction of all these new elements, the characters, the locations, the end goal, all these things. And it's been tens of thousands of words. It's been a lot. The biggest thing they've written, right? It might just be the biggest thing they've ever written. And they realize that they are nowhere near close to that big end goal. They have plans for all these things happening and all these things getting in the way, but they're still like 6 months away from the big tournament. The armies of so-and-so are still weeks away. In their message, they actually expressed feeling like they were gonna not only run out of energy, but maybe even run out of ideas by the time they get to the big scary thing that is supposed to be the big crux of the story. And this happens sometimes. Sometimes writers give themselves too wide of a timeline or too short of a timeline. You tell yourself this is what's going to happen, and you present it in the story, and I'm going to give you a little spoiler, okay? Stories always go long. Stories always go long. So I can totally understand, I can totally imagine how our dear writerly friend is, or how they feel like they're still in the first act of the story, they're still in the first part, and they've written like 70,000 words, which is usually half of what most, large books tend to be, and they're still miles away. They can't even see the destination of where they're supposed to end up at. What do we do in situations like these? Our dear writerly friend brought up a possible solution, though it is one that they dread. They mentioned the idea because they know, they were thinking about it, and they wanted not only feedback on the particular situation they're in, but also for me to review their idea for how to fix this. They could go back to the beginning and rewrite the story, keeping in mind a few different elements, and moving on from there. Their option was essentially a rewrite of the story. The story which they hadn't finished, and which they had written about 70,000 words. Now, I don't think their idea is bad. I just think it's a little misguided. Hey. Come in. Lean closer, okay? Don't make yourself go through that. Rewrites are not always bad. I don't want to give the impression that I hate rewriting and that I only believe in revision. That's not true. I love revision. Revision to me is a gift. We are the only medium that gets to just adjust everything. Even in film, there's just a finite resource of the things they captured on the camera. Even in audio and music, you have that performance captured there. If it's not right for film or whatever, you do reshoots. You re-record things. That's the way things go in that medium. For writing, you can fix it all in revision. But I don't want to give you the impression that rewriting is bad. I mean, the story that I'm writing right now started as a rewrite. I fixed a bunch, but most of what was there originally remained. So what do I think you should do? You give yourself a bit too wide of a timeline. Should you go back and rewrite everything? Considering your particular scenario, the answer that comes to mind is no. I believe that you would make a better use of your time by continuing to write forward and revising later. This is not a universal answer, by the way. For anyone out there stuck in a similar situation, I have reviewed this particular case very carefully, and considering all the elements involved, I announce that I think you're better off continuing to write. Mostly because, and if you want a mental image for what I am picturing, the way that I like to think about this is that I review the issues with the manuscript. I review the problems presented in the writing, and then I compare those to the amount of work you're going to have to put in to fix them. Please note that the answer here is not, if it's too much work, don't fix it. That's silly. What I do mean is that if the problems in your manuscript are small ones, details, then you should definitely not rewrite your story. If there are many plot elements, and I do mean many, if you have pages upon pages of hard things that need to get hard edited, then maybe rewriting the whole novel is best. But considering how you, dear writerly friend who sent this question, you have 70,000 words, and the only problem here, really, is the timeline, that can literally get fixed with a single revision pass. How? Well, first you finish the novel. And then you look back through it, figure out exactly how much time you think would be best, and then you revise that time in the story. I know that I'm being kind of quick and brief about this, but honestly, seriously, if you have a detail such as the big tournament is in 6 months, and then you realize that that's too much stuff to write about, then write a note saying, make the length to the tournament a different amount of time. That right there can just be fixed like that. Done. Finish the novel, you realize, okay, there's about 4 months worth of events happening. It's 4 months. It's 3 months. It's 1 month. It's 2 weeks before the big tournament. Stuff like that. Things that are details. I have a friend who's rewriting an entire series of novels that they wrote. And the issues with that novel were not details. They were overarching things and world-building elements. The kind of thing where you feel... Okay, the way that I picture this, honestly, I like to picture it as a house. And if you have to get the foundation out of the house, then you might as well just build the house anew. But when you have a little detail, like the length of the amount of time you have before the tournament, then, get some plaster, fix that hole in the wall, paint the walls, get the floors out, install a new sink. That's nothing. That's not the kind of thing that you would tear down your house and build it anew over. There you go. That's a nice and quick and easy way to explain that. Is it the kind of problem that you would tear down your whole house to fix? If so, do so. But if not, don't. Okay? Sometimes we also give ourselves very short timelines. Sometimes we tell ourselves the events of this story are going to take place over one night. And then the story keeps going and you realize, oh, I'm going to need more time for this story. That's coming from personal experience. The current book that I'm writing was supposed to take place over a single night, but let me tell you, it didn't. In case someone out there is wondering, because I know that every week when a podcast comes out, that is somebody's first introduction to the podcast. And that's cool. And I welcome you to my podcast. I do sometimes get questions like, why do you speak so darn fast? And I gave an explanation last episode, I think. My background, the fact that I'm from California, and also the fact that I'm just predisposed to speaking pretty darn fast. It's also hot today. Like, we're having a heat wave in California, even though it's still supposed to be winter. And you know me. I hate heat. Whenever heat is present, I feel like I'm just taking damage, like it's a video game and there's just a debuff on me. So part of me speaking fast today is also due to the extreme heat. Okay, let me walk that back. It's not extreme heat. Listen, it's still California. I live close to the ocean. It's not bad. It's not like I'm living, in Arizona or something. Anyhow, talking about the weather out of the way. Oh, also, to the lovely writerly friend who sent that question. I hope that helps. Really consider your options when you're thinking about rewriting your whole novel. Like, that is not an easy task. And even though it may seem like a quick solution now or an easy solution now, remember that writing is always hard. And I would like to inspire you to really think about it. Okay? Okay. And now, let us continue over to the final segment of the show, the prompt. The purpose of the prompt is twofold. If you have no writing project at the moment, or if you're looking for a sign that you should get back into writing and work on something, the prompt is right there for you to take. The instant you put pen to paper, the instant you change the story, you put it to words, you give it form, it becomes yours, and it ceases to be mine. You need not source me, unless you wanna. I usually appreciate just people linking me to their stuffs so I can read it later. The other purpose of the prompt is to give you a chance to think about writing, to stretch your creative muscles. If you are in the middle of a novel and you ain't got time to think about writing, which is completely okay, by the way. It's completely okay to just be working on your project. It's fine. What I want to do is inspire you to think about the prompt. Even if you don't write it, think what you would do, how you would spin it, how you would twist it. Stretch your creative muscles and think about writing. You got your commute. You gotta walk your dog. You gotta fold your laundry. You're listening to this. Take a deep breath. Think about stories. Today's serving of the weird, the bizarre, the strange comes to you courtesy of something that happened to me recently. I usually like to give you a scenario. Today we're running a little late, so I'm just gonna throw you an idea, a pitch, a sentence, a single sentence. I haven't thought about this much further, because I want you to examine it, to think about it, to twist it. Imagine, if you may, a person. Their gender does not matter. Their age does not matter either. One day, this person suffers a horrible accident. And in this accident, they unfortunately die. Now, I know what you're thinking. Max, accidents happen all the time. What's so strange about this one? Well, you see, right at the instant when our protagonist dies, they blink their eyes and find themselves alive. Safe. Instants before the accident. As though in a haze, they continue on with the things they were doing before, and the events that would have led to the accident do not. Our character emerges from this moment changed and able to do something beyond strange. Our character did die, and our character did survive. What our character has witnessed is not a trick of their eyes, a fault of their mind, a hallucination or a vision. It happened. Our protagonist died, but also lived. Not in the same place, but in different once. I am not too sure about how this works, and I am certain that our protagonist does not know either. At least not yet. But our protagonist, in one world, in one place, in one parallel dimension, passed away. And in the other, they did not. But while in most situations we would remain unaware of the alternate dimensions beyond the sphere of our reality, our protagonist is now hyper-aware, able to feel and sense and see the other place, the parallel dimension in which they have died. What does it mean to live beyond our deaths as observers to the parallel dimensions we once lived in? What would it be like? To review real quickly, our protagonist suffered an accident and died. Soon thereafter, they came to their senses, instance before the situation that killed them, and found that the events did not happen exactly as they remembered them. And then, in time, maybe seconds after, maybe days, maybe months, they become aware of this thing they can see, they can feel, they can hear, of this other place that is just like theirs. It is similar. It is known. But in this place they are missing. They are gone. They died. But the world went on. The gears kept spinning. The clocks kept ticking. Life went on without them. What would it be like to be this person? To have this strange power? What would it be like? Now, here are, of course, plenty of ways to break down, to twist, and to change this setup for a story. I realize, of course, that there is no hook other than the mystery of how the power works and how it comes to be, and why it manifests with our protagonist. It could be that our protagonist is special, but it could also be that this is the way death works. Just when you think you have passed on, you simply come to your senses in an alternate dimension. What would that mean for life? What would that mean for the protagonist? Maybe they are special. And maybe there's something only they can do. Or maybe there's also the accident. Did they die as the fault of a mistake? Or was it something more somber? What would it be like to be fully aware of who murdered you in that other realm? In that other parallel dimension? What would it be like to continue seeing them? To continue living with them? And what are the further implications of being able to see beyond the parallels? You may be wondering, how did I stumble upon an idea like this? Because we know, part of being a writer is just stumbling upon stories wherever you go. Now, the following may sound a little bit troubling, but I can assure you I am fine, I am healthy. But a couple nights ago, there was a certain thing going about with a certain author who may or may not have made a fool of themselves. And my spouse and I were having great fun laughing at all the many posts people were making online, riffing on the similar comment that person had made. My spouse showed me one such post that was so funny, so random, so unbelievably hilarious that I laughed so hard and so much that I actually fainted. I fainted from laughter. I laughed so much, I just fainted. And I don't know if I dropped just straight into REM sleep. Apparently I was out for like a second. But during that whole thing, I had like a dream, a very vivid dream. And in perfect Max fashion, halfway through the dream, again, I was also like, wait, did I die? Did I just die? And of course I wake up. And of course I'm alive. Feeling a little weird, a little lightheaded. Fainting will do that to you. Trust me, I laughed a lot. I'm healthy, trust me. This is just, man, that post was just, whew. But I remember as I was coming out of the spell, I thought, wouldn't it be weird that in another dimension, in another parallel universe, I died right there. Max came to an end right there. And wouldn't it be weird, bizarre, and strange if I, the Max from this parallel dimension, continued to be aware of that other world? Like a ghost that could continue looking into it, aware of the passing of following events. Friends, family, time, years gone by. What would it be like to be in those shoes? So I ask you to consider this bizarre scenario of life existing in parallels, of death, of survival, of accidents, of murder, and to ask the most delicious question of all. What would it be like to tell a story from such a point of view? And so, welcome to episode 35 of Omakase. I am Max, also known as M. Karen, and I want to thank you for listening. I hope that I gave you a few insights into writing, or if anything, I hope that I was good company while you were driving to work, walking your dog, doing your laundry, or enjoying dinner. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that between now and the next time we meet, that you get some writing done, and that you think about stories. I am gonna move over to the shoutouts. I like to give a shout out to every single person who supported me and treated me to a cup of coffee. I am also going to shout out a lovely person who left me a lovely review. So if you really enjoy my podcast, please consider leaving a rating and a review on iTunes. Okay? Okay. Are they all gone? Has everyone stopped listening? Okay. Let's begin. The end of the video club, where we stay until the end of the video. You don't have to, by the way, that's just for fun. Welcome. From here on, no edits, and also 100% more silliness. Was I ready to start this? No, I wasn't. Let me just set up this page. Perfect! Also, I want to begin, as I mentioned, I want to give a shout out to Quinn PM for leaving a fantastic and very, very sweet review. It's honestly like the sweetest thing I've heard in forever. Thank you so much. Over on my coffee, someone treated me to a cup of coffee, and that is Deb Ray. Thanks, Deb. Everybody, dab for Deb. There we go. Dab for Deb. There you go. And you thought I wasn't gonna be silly today. Also, I want to give a shout out to all of my patrons on patreon.com/IamKaren. Rival Moonlight, Soul Muse, Lishadra, Lacey, Daisy, Irina Phoenix, A. Howard, Angela, Polycraftwell, Amelia, new patron, Zero Woods. Hey, Zettel, Zero Woods. Lisa Dudley. I have to charge it. Lisa Dudley. Lisa Dudley. Heather is writing. Also, Heather is writing's name is literally Heather is writing one word. So I always try to mush it. Heather is writing. Heather is writing. Heather is writing. If I keep saying it, it'll just lose all meaning. Nicola. Brenda, Pat Eichson, Kristen Lofton, Synexia. Oh yeah, new patron too, Shido Subasa. Hey Shido. Alex Cast. That really sounded like an old Western gunfight, and Alex Cast cut me off halfway through calling out their name. Alex Cast. Alistair Baywood. Caitlin, Blarg, Kameshwar Rao, Shaluri, Kathy Lindsay, Kaylee, Mary Foster Smith, Juan Nunes, Christine Dennis, Kristen Dennis, Raquel Fernandez, Alexo Hoshi, Sylvia Leitilla, Janosh Hepatsky, Sky D. White, Eleanor. Hey, Eleanor. I don't know if you listen to the podcast week to week, but I hope that you get better. I know that you're stuck 2 weeks in bed, or whatever it was that I saw on Twitter. That sucks. I wish I could just send you a bunch of books, but hey, I hope you get better, okay? Oh yeah, just send all my books to Eleanor. Hey Eleanor, I know you haven't read these books in 2 years, but you want to read them again anyway? Hey. What a horrible person I would be. Is just give people my books as birthday presents. Yeah, would it talk about a power move? It's hey, Rene Solia, happy birthday. Here's a copy of my books. Hey Connor, here's a copy of my books. Jay Sawiki, copy of my books. Rhiannon August, hey. I got you exactly what you wanted. A copy of my book. Nicolay, hey. Hey. Take this present. I know that it is shaped like a book and wrapped, and it looks just like a book, but I can assure you, it may or may not be a book. Jaytana Kirkwood, James, Aerosols. I have not gotten any noise complaints from my neighbors. Partially because we're kind of a corner lot. So all of the and literally we're facing towards the corner. So the noise goes out into the ether. So I assume that, what is the wilderness gonna complain? Are the bears gonna complain? Oh, we don't have bears here, by the way. That was just, listen. That would be funny. Man. Yeah, sea bears. Yeah, everybody keeps warning you about the sea lions. Wait until you meet the sea bears. Wendy Christopher. No, I'm so hard. I said that so earnestly. I was like, man, wait until you meet the sea bears. No, man, the sea bears went through my trash again last night. Gosh doodly darn it. Where was I? Noam Sahar, Novels and Tomes, Kiel, Roa, Lier Killo, Clem Pastor, Nicole Grissom, Biting the Sun, Christiane, Shimmer Tales, Amanda Stevens, C.E. Richards, and K.M. Anderson. K.M. Anderson. So some of you may be wondering, Max, what is up with you reading the names the wrong way? You used to be reading the names in a particular way, now you're not reading them in the particular way. What's going on? What's up with that? What's up with that, Max? Well, the problem with that is Patreon loves to break things all the time, so they completely changed the way that their system works, and it's not that the functionality for what it did before is not available anymore, it's just that everything looks wrong and different. So I just kind of went with the default arrangement of people as per the money they pledge as opposed to alphabetically as I used to do it. I might go back to it, I don't know. Now, okay, there's been a single truck just going around like it's a gosh doodly darn not a Ferris wheel, like it's a carousel around here. A merry-go-round. There you go, that's better. Well, the power didn't go out the whole time I was recording. Hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. Hey guys! How y'all doing? Someone out there's probably wondering, hey Max, what's the post that made you laugh so hard? I can't say it because this podcast is supposed to be clean. Unlike my Twitter account, heyo! It was regarding the J.K. Rowling posts. Man, what a backfire. Man. The best part, though, is all the hilarious wrong J.K. Rowling posts that have been going around. Alright. This has been a long episode. I had fun. I missed talking with you guys. And I hope that my absence wasn't too bad on you. Okay? Stay strong. Keep writing. I'll keep writing too, okay? Take care of yourself. And remember, today is a good day to write.